Hello, my dear friends. Today, I want to share an inspiring and relatable story about confidence and persistence in learning English. The title of this story is I Always Speak in English Even If I Make Mistakes. This story is designed to help you understand how important it is to keep speaking, no matter how many errors you make. We all know that learning a new language is challenging, but the key to mastering it is to speak without fear of judgment. Mistakes are not failures. They are stepping stones to fluency. Many people hesitate to speak English because they worry about being laughed at or judged. They think, what if I say something wrong? This fear stops them from improving. But let me tell you, the only way to get better is to speak and speak often. In this story, you'll meet Alex, a boy who decided to overcome his fear of making mistakes by talking in English every day, everywhere, and with everyone, even if he wasn't perfect. This story is simple and easy to follow, so everyone can understand it. It shows the journey of Alex, his struggles, his courage, and how he gradually gained confidence. I hope this story motivates you to embrace your imperfections and speak in English fearlessly. Now, let's dive into Alex's story. Hi, my name is Alex. I was never good at English. Sure, I could read and write a little, but when it came to speaking, I froze. My words felt clumsy, my grammar was all over the place, and I always felt people were secretly laughing at me. But one day, I decided that enough was enough. I wanted to speak English fluently, and I realized that the only way to do it was to keep talking, even if I made 100 mistakes. It all started when I moved to a new city for college. Most of my classmates spoke in English, and I felt out of place. I could barely introduce myself properly without stumbling over words. During group discussions, I stayed silent. During presentations, I avoided eye contact. I was scared of embarrassing myself. But deep down, I knew I had to change. One evening, after another awkward day at college, I sat in my room and thought about my future. I dreamed of getting a good job, traveling the world, and making international friends. I knew all these dreams required one thing: good English communication skills. I decided then and there that I wouldn't let my fear control me anymore. The next day, I began my journey. It wasn't easy at first. I told myself, Alex, you will speak in English no matter what, even if you make mistakes. And that's what I did. When I went to the campus cafeteria to order lunch, I spoke in English. Hello, can I, have, one sandwich, please? The cashier smiled and asked, what kind of sandwich? I panicked. I didn't know the right words to explain. I stammered, the bread with chicken, the one with salad. She understood and handed me the sandwich. I felt awkward, but I was proud. I had spoken in English, and I had survived. From that day, I spoke English everywhere. At first, people did correct me. Sometimes they laughed kindly when I used the wrong word or pronounced something incorrectly. But instead of feeling embarrassed, I laughed with them and asked, what's the correct way to say it? One of my professors noticed my efforts and encouraged me. He said, Alex, you're brave to keep speaking English, even when it's hard. That's the only way to improve. Keep going. His words stayed with me. My friends started to notice my determination too. At first, they teased me. "Why don't you speak in our native language, Alex? It's easier," they said. But I explained my goal. I want to improve my English. I know I make mistakes, but I won't stop trying. Soon, they started helping me. If I said something wrong, they corrected me gently. One day, during a group presentation, something amazing happened. I stood in front of the class, nervous as usual, and began speaking in English. My sentences weren't perfect, but I kept going. By the end of my presentation, my classmates clapped for me. One of them said, "Alex, your confidence is inspiring. I wish I could speak like you." That moment changed everything. I realized that most people admired my effort rather than judged my mistakes. My confidence grew, and so did my fluency. I began to enjoy speaking in English. I started watching English movies without subtitles, listening to English songs, and even talking to myself in English when I was alone. I practiced every day, and slowly but surely, my mistakes became fewer. One evening, I received a call from a company offering me an internship. The interview was in English. At first, I was nervous, but then I remembered my journey. I reminded myself that it was okay to make mistakes. I spoke confidently, and guess what? I got the internship. Now I can proudly say that I speak English every day without fear. I'm not perfect, and I still make mistakes sometimes, but I've learned to laugh at them and move on. Speaking in English has opened so many doors for me. I've made friends from different countries, participated in international events, and even helped others improve their English. As I settled into my internship, I realized just how much my English skills were being tested. Every day I had to communicate with my team, present my ideas in meetings, and write reports, all in English. At first, it felt overwhelming. There were times when I fumbled with words or didn't understand a technical term, but I reminded myself of my mantra: keep speaking, even if you make mistakes. One day, my manager, Mr. Roberts, called me into his office. He was a kind but professional man who always spoke very clearly, yet fast. "Alex, I've noticed you're improving in your communication, but I want to give you a bit of advice," he said. I sat up straight, nervous but ready to listen. "Yes, sir. Please tell me." He smiled and continued, "Don't hesitate to ask questions if you don't understand something. English isn't your first language, and that's okay, but clarity is key in professional settings. When in doubt, just ask." His words stuck with me. From then on, I made it a habit to ask questions if I didn't understand a word or phrase. For example, during a meeting about marketing strategies, someone mentioned the term call to action. I didn't know what it meant, so I raised my hand and said, "Excuse me, can you explain what call to action means?" Instead of judging me, the person explained it kindly. And guess what? A few others in the room said they appreciated the clarification too. That's when I learned that asking questions doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look curious and eager to learn. New friendships and unexpected lessons. Outside of work, I continued my practice of speaking English. One evening, I joined a local language exchange meetup. It was a group of people from different countries who came together to practice speaking various languages. At first, I was shy to join the conversation. Everyone seemed so fluent, and I felt like I didn't belong. But then, a girl named Emma, a native English speaker, approached me. "Hi, I'm Emma. What's your name?" she asked with a friendly smile. My name is Alex," I replied, a little hesitantly. "Nice to meet you, Alex. What brings you here?" she asked. I want to, improve my English speaking. I make mistakes, but I want to learn." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "That's amazing! The best way to learn is by speaking. Don't worry about mistakes. Just keep talking, and you'll get better every day." Her encouragement made me feel at ease. Over the next few weeks, Emma and I became good friends. She corrected my grammar gently and introduced me to new phrases and idioms. I taught her some words from my native language in return. One day, Emma said, "Alex, your confidence is inspiring. You're not afraid to speak, even when it's hard. I wish more people had your attitude." Her words filled me with pride. It felt good to know that my efforts were being noticed. A big challenge. One morning at work, Mr. Roberts surprised me with an announcement. "Alex, we've been impressed with your progress. I want you to give a presentation to our international clients next week." My heart skipped a beat. Presenting in English to clients from different countries? It sounded terrifying. But I knew this was an opportunity to push myself. I spent the entire week preparing. I practiced my speech in front of the mirror, recorded myself speaking, and asked Emma to listen and give feedback. She pointed out areas where I could improve my pronunciation and helped me simplify some complex sentences. The day of the presentation arrived. As I stood in front of the clients, my palms were sweaty, but I took a deep breath and began. "Hello, everyone. My name is Alex, and today I will talk about our project and how it can benefit your company." I spoke slowly and clearly, just as I had practiced. There were a few moments when I stumbled over a word or two, but I kept going. When I finished, the clients applauded. One of them even came up to me afterward and said, "Your presentation was excellent, Alex. I admire your confidence." That moment felt like a milestone in my journey. It proved that even with imperfections, I could communicate effectively and make an impact. Sharing the journey. As time went on, I began helping others who were struggling with English. I started a small online group where people could practice speaking without fear of judgment. I shared my story and encouraged them to embrace their mistakes. One of the members, a shy boy named Rohan, reminded me of myself. He hesitated to speak and often apologized for his mistakes. I told him, "Rohan, don't apologize for trying. Every word you say is a step forward. Just keep talking." Over time, Rohan grew more confident. Seeing his progress made me realize how far I had come and how important it was to help others on the same path. Embracing new horizons. One day, my company announced an exciting development. They were opening a branch in another country and needed volunteers to relocate and train the new team. When the email arrived, I read it 3 times, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Moving to a new country meant starting from scratch, new culture, new people, and the chance to use my English in even more real-world situations. After some thought, I decided to apply. I knew it would be challenging, but I also knew that challenges were where I thrived. A week later, I received the confirmation email. I had been chosen to join the team in London. Life in London. Landing in London was like stepping into a movie. The city buzzed with life, and the diversity of accents fascinated me. British English was a little different from what I was used to, and at first I struggled to catch certain phrases and expressions. For instance, one colleague greeted me with, "All right?" and I didn't know how to respond. I hesitated and awkwardly said, "Yes, I am all right. Thank you." She laughed kindly and explained that "all right" was just another way of saying, "How are you?" I started picking up on other cultural nuances too. Phrases like "fancy a cuppa" or "let's nip out for lunch" were completely new to me. I wrote them down and practiced them, even if I didn't always use them correctly. Despite the cultural differences, I made friends quickly. My willingness to talk, even with mistakes, helped me connect with people. I also found that my story of learning English resonated with many colleagues who were also from different parts of the world. The power of speaking up. At the London office, I was given more responsibility. One of my tasks was to organize a weekly meeting where everyone shared updates on their projects. Leading this meeting in English, with people from different countries and backgrounds, felt intimidating, but I took it as another chance to improve. During the first meeting, I stumbled a bit. I mixed up words like strategy and statistics, and I forgot the term for quarterly goals. Instead of panicking, I smiled and said, "Sorry, I'm still learning. What's the right word here?" To my surprise, everyone was supportive. They helped me find the words I needed, and some even shared their own stories of struggling to learn a new language. That meeting turned into a bonding moment for all of us. Over time, I became more comfortable leading meetings. My team started looking up to me, not just for my work, but also for my ability to persevere and communicate clearly, even in a language that wasn't my first. Teaching by example. One of the most rewarding parts of my journey was when I began mentoring a new employee named Carlos. He was from Spain and had just moved to London for the job. Carlos reminded me of myself, eager to learn but hesitant to speak for fear of making mistakes. During his first week, he asked me, "Alex, how do you speak so confidently? I feel like I'm going to embarrass myself every time I open my mouth." I smiled and told him, "Carlos, the key is to embrace the embarrassment. Speak anyway. If you make mistakes, people will correct you, and that's how you'll learn." I used to feel the same way, but I realized that staying silent is a bigger mistake than saying something wrong. I encouraged Carlos to join me in conversations with other colleagues and guided him through small talk. Slowly but surely, he started speaking more. Watching him grow reminded me of my own progress and reinforced the belief that helping others is just as important as improving yourself. A full circle moment. Months later, I was invited to give a talk at a language learning event. The theme was Breaking Barriers, Speaking Without Fear. Standing on the stage, Looking out at the audience, I felt a wave of gratitude for how far I'd come. I began my speech with the same words I'd used at the start of this story. Hello, my dear friends. Today I want to share my journey with you. I always speak in English, even if I make mistakes, and that simple choice has changed my life. As I shared my story, the nervous conversations, the moments of doubt, and the victories that followed, I saw people nodding, smiling, and even tearing up. It was a reminder that our struggles are universal, and our courage to face them can inspire others. After the event, a young woman approached me. She was trembling a little as she said, "Alex, your story gave me hope. I've been too scared to speak in English because I don't want people to laugh at me. But hearing you, I feel like I can try now." I looked her in the eye and said, "You absolutely can. Just remember, every word you speak is a step forward. Mistakes are your best teachers." Hello, my dear friends. Today, I want to share another story that's close to my heart. This one is about how speaking English, no matter how many mistakes I made, helped me find a sense of belonging in a completely new environment. You see, learning English isn't just about mastering a language. It's about opening doors to new experiences, connecting with people from different walks of life, and discovering parts of yourself you never knew existed. This story is simple and easy to understand, so everyone can relate. Let me take you on this journey, and I promise, by the end, you'll understand why speaking, even imperfectly, is so powerful. Moving to a new city. 2 years ago, I moved to a bustling city where English was the main language. It wasn't just a new place, it was a whole new world. The streets were busy with people speaking fluently, and their accents made the language sound even more intimidating. On my first day, I went to a coffee shop. I stood in line, rehearsing my order in my head. "A cappuccino, please." When it was finally my turn, the barista smiled and asked, "Hi there, what can I get for you?" I panicked. My carefully rehearsed words disappeared. Instead, I blurted out, "One, coffee with milk, no sugar." The barista nodded and said, "Got it. 1 latte, coming right up." I smiled nervously, realizing that what I ordered wasn't exactly what I meant. But guess what? I got my coffee, and nobody laughed at me, breaking the silence. That small moment gave me courage. The next day, I decided to step out of my comfort zone. I went to a local park where people were walking, jogging, or just enjoying the fresh air. I saw a woman sitting on a bench, reading a book. She looked approachable, so I said, "Excuse me, what book is this?" She looked up and replied, "It's a mystery novel. Do you like mysteries?" I hesitated but nodded. "I like, but not read much in English." She smiled warmly. "That's okay. It's a good way to practice. You should try it." That brief exchange made me realize something important. People appreciate effort. It doesn't matter if your sentences aren't perfect. What matters is that you try. Joining a language club. A few weeks later, I found a flyer for an English-speaking club. They held weekly meetings where people could practice speaking English in a relaxed environment. I felt nervous about going, but I reminded myself of my goal. To improve, I had to speak. At my first meeting, I introduced myself. "Hello, I am Alex. I come new in city, and I want to speak English better. The group clapped and welcomed me. One member, a man named John, said, "Alex, you're in the right place. We're all here to learn, so don't worry about mistakes." Each week, I attended the meetings. We discussed topics like movies, travel, and our favorite foods. I learned so much, not just about the language, but about different cultures, too. Facing challenges. Of course, it wasn't always easy. One time I was at the grocery store and I couldn't find something I needed. I approached a staff member and said, "Excuse me, where is, the milk for no animal?" The staff member looked confused. "Do you mean plant-based milk, like almond or oat milk?" I nodded, relieved. Yes, that one." Moments like these reminded me that it's okay to not know everything. Each mistake was a lesson that brought me closer to fluency. Building friendships. One of the best things about speaking English, even imperfectly, was the friendships I made. There was John from the language club, Maria from the park, and even the barista from the coffee shop who always greeted me with a smile. One day, John invited me to a barbecue at his house. I felt nervous about spending the whole evening speaking English, but I accepted. At the barbecue, I met people from all over the world. Everyone spoke English, but nobody's English was perfect, and that was okay. We laughed, shared stories, and even sang songs. By the end of the night, I realized that my mistakes didn't matter. What mattered was the connections I was making. A lesson in courage. One of the most memorable moments came months later when Maria, the woman from the park, invited me to speak at her community center. They were hosting an event for people learning English, and she thought my story would inspire others. Standing in front of that crowd, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. I began with the same words I've shared with you today. Hello, my dear friends. Today, I want to share my journey with you. I always speak in English, even if I make mistakes, and it has changed my life. I shared my story, the coffee shop, the language club, the barbecue, and by the end, people were clapping and cheering. The journey continues. Today, I'm still learning. There are still words I don't know and sentences I mix up. But I've learned that speaking, even with mistakes, is the best way to grow. Discovering my voice in unexpected places. After that inspiring day at the community center, my confidence grew. I started saying yes to more opportunities that required me to speak English. One such opportunity came when John from the language club asked if I'd help him host an event at the local library, a storytelling night for people learning English. I hesitated. "John, I don't know. My English is still not good." He shook his head. "Alex, you've been practicing every day. You inspire others just by trying. That's all that matters." I couldn't argue with him, so I agreed. At the event, I told the story of my first days in the city, the coffee shop, the grocery store, and my conversation with Maria in the park. The audience laughed with me, not at me, when I shared my funny mix-ups with words like milk for no animal. What surprised me most was how many people came up to me afterward to say, "I'm so scared to speak English, but your story gives me hope." A new role, helping others. Soon after, I started volunteering at Maria's community center to help other newcomers practice English. At first, I wondered if I was qualified to help others when I still made mistakes myself, but I quickly learned that my imperfections were my strength. One day, a young woman named Lena joined our group. She spoke so softly that I could barely hear her. When I asked her to introduce herself, she said, "I no good in English. I not speak." I smiled and said, "Lena, I said the same thing when I moved here. But look at me now. I speak even when I make mistake. You can do it too." Lena smiled nervously, and over the weeks I saw her transform. She started speaking more, slowly at first, but with increasing confidence. Seeing her progress reminded me of my own journey and gave me a sense of purpose. Challenging myself further. As time passed, I realized that while I was helping others, I still had room to grow myself. I decided to tackle one of my biggest fears, public speaking. Maria told me about a group called Toastmasters, where people practiced giving speeches in English. It sounded terrifying, but also like exactly what I needed. At my first meeting, my heart raced as I stood in front of the group. My hands shook as I held the microphone, but I took a deep breath and began. "Hello, my name is Alex. I am here because I want to be brave. I want to speak English even when I make mistakes." The room erupted in applause, and I felt a wave of relief. Over the next few weeks, I practiced short speeches about my life, my favorite hobbies, and even funny moments like ordering milk for no animal. Each time, I felt myself growing more comfortable. A life-changing opportunity. One day, out of the blue, I received an email from an organization that helps immigrants settle into the city. They were hosting a large event to celebrate the stories of people who had overcome challenges, and they wanted me to be a guest speaker. I couldn't believe it. Me? A guest speaker? I almost said no. The fear of speaking in front of hundreds of people felt overwhelming. But then I remembered the words I always tell others. Speak, even if you make mistakes. At the event, I shared my journey, starting from my first nervous conversations at the coffee shop to becoming a volunteer and helping others like Lena. When I finished, the applause was thunderous. People from the audience came up to me with tears in their eyes, thanking me for sharing my story. The true meaning of language. That event taught me something profound. Speaking a language isn't just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about connection. It's about showing up, being vulnerable, and letting others see your effort and your heart. Today, I'm still learning. There are still moments when I stumble over my words or forget how to say something. But I've stopped letting those moments define me. Instead, I focus on the friendships I've built, the lives I've touched, and the person I've become. Dear friends, if you're ever afraid to speak in English because you're worried about making mistakes, I want you to remember my story. Speak anyway. Laugh at your mistakes, learn from them, and keep going. You might be surprised at where your journey takes you, because every word you speak, no matter how imperfect, is a step closer to fluency and to discovering the incredible connections waiting for you in this world. Keep speaking, keep growing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. The journey never truly ends. It only gets better.